CapCan Knows, the official podcast of the Capital Area College Access Network. We are excited to engage the community in conversations about college access. I am your host, Rachel Cortez, in AmeriCorps Vista, serving with CapCan. Today, Michelle Strauss, CapCan's Executive Director, and I are joined by Andrea Calabrese, Chief Operations Officer at Child and Family Charities. So let's get started. First of all, Andrea, thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so the first question we always ask on CapCan Knows is who encouraged you to go to college and why was it important to you to continue your education after high school?
Who encouraged me to go to college? I think I just wanted to go to college. I don't think anyone really encouraged me. My path has changed through the years. So when I went to college, I was an art and theater major. And that was my interest. And yeah, so that was important to me to get some education in that.
Hey, that's so cool. What is Child and Family Charities?
Child and Family Charities is a nonprofit child welfare agency in mid-Michigan. We serve the Tri-County area. We've been here for over 100 years. So our largest program is our foster care adoption and licensing program. But we serve many families, many adults, children, youth. Through our juvenile justice division, through our behavioral health clinic, through our foster care programs, and our homeless youth housing and outreach, and our family growth center.
What kind of education do people who work at Child and Family Charities have to work in the profession of children's mental health?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I think regardless of where you work in the agency, that touches everybody. So depending on what type of position you have, the education can range from a high school diploma to an associate's degree, to a 4-year degree, to a master's level, and a license or a certification, depending on what you are providing for the.
You started your educational career in art and music and theater. So where did you divert back to children's mental health?
So I was into art and theater. So theater for me was, I was more of a backstage, not a front stage. So I was interested in scenic design and painting. And so that was the journey that took me to New York City. And I worked on and off Broadway for a few years as a wig supervisor and makeup artist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I am so happy to be with you today because I'm a person who can not only talk about primary, your primary education and your college education, but I also hold a cosmetology license. I went through a vocational program as well when I was in New York City. So I had my 4-year degree, then I went to cosmetology school. I'm a Veda trained. And then right after cosmetology school, that's when I decided, you know what? I was volunteering at the time for Coalition for the Homeless in New York City, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought maybe this is what I would really like to do. And I ended up applying for my master's degree of social work at Hunter College.
Okay.
Then I went in and got my master's degree. And from there, I've always been an educator. I've always been one who likes to coach and mentor and train. I'm a professor at Baker College. I'm a professor at Fordham University in New York City. So I still teach, I still have students. And that's always been really important to me as well. So from that, so as you've probably seen, what is that alphabet behind your last name? I decided about 7 years after I received my master's degree, I wanted to advance my education. Education is really important to me. And I applied for a doctoral program in social work, in clinical social work. And so I did that, and I have my doctorate degree in clinical social work. And then I moved to Michigan to take this position. This was such an awesome opportunity, and I'm glad I did. I've learned so much because I never delved into the child welfare when I was living in New York City.
Which is a very complicated system.
Yeah, very, very. It's not that it didn't cross my path, but I never intentionally worked in that area. I've always worked in the area of homelessness, housing, and substance misuse, addiction, and mental health, and primarily with adults. So the youngest client that I served before I came here was 17.
Okay. But we all know that these young adults need the same level of support that we try to provide in early childhood and as they're just developing, because it's a transition point in their life.
Yes, definitely.
Well, what an interesting journey. We'll have to talk a lot more about this at another point in time. So that's great. So you came to Michigan before COVID hit.
Yes.
Fortunately, but now you are trying in your organization to really provide insight and leadership during COVID and continuing to provide services for all of our young people throughout the pandemic. So can you talk a little bit about how you think COVID has impacted the mental health of the young people that you work with, but also broadly in the community?
Sure. So what we have seen, and what I think a lot of people have seen since the pandemic hit with our younger population, is we're seeing high anxiety and a lot of isolation. So I feel like once, we're still working with the younger population that is used to living a world of technology, but being forced to be in that technology all the time is taking a toll. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of the isolation, higher rates of depression, and unfortunately, the rates of suicide ideation and attempts are rising. They're quite high, actually, in our young adult population.
Right. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because I knew that Child and Family had just launched a new suicide prevention project. So we'd like to hear a little bit more about what you're doing and how you're partnering with our schools in the community.
Yes. So we have been awarded a grant through a combination of agencies, one of 9 in the whole state of Michigan, and the only agency in the mid-Michigan area to we decided we need to launch this within our agency. So it's called Project Restore Hope. And what we're doing is using the zero suicide model and embedding it into the culture of Child and Family Charities. And part of that model is to train our entire team, top to bottom, on QPR, which is called Question, Persuade, Refer. And it is really working with the staff and integrating how you interact, talk to, be aware of any type of suicide signs, symptoms, and we use that as a prevention measure, because the motto of QPR is ask a question, save a life. And so the other end of that is we have also had our behavioral health therapists all trained in a CAMS care model. So the CAMS care model is a case management wraparound for individuals who have experienced ideations or attempts, hospitalizations, and really to work with that individual and their family to keep them safe and to keep them from going back into the repeated hospitalizations.
Okay.
Yes.
So No, go ahead.
Another section you had there about how are we working with the schools.
Right.
So we work pretty closely with Lansing School District.
Mhm.
We work closely with Waverly as well. I actually have an embedded mental health therapist in the Waverly Community Schools. So she is CAMS care trained. She is also EMDR trained. So
And what does EMDR mean?
EMDR is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. So it is a trauma-based intervention.
Okay.
Yes. And it's rare to find a lot of therapists in nonprofits that are trained in that specific particular modality.
And I think I know who that person is. Because I think I've worked with that person in the community before.
Carrie Gregg.
Right. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's such an important resource, because I know, there's a whole nother podcast about healthcare shortage areas, and particularly in children's mental health, child psychologists, child psychiatrists, and of course, any types of certifications. So to have somebody with that level, that deep of preparation around this in the community is really, really valuable.
Right.
So, and you, as an agency, have, really adopted trauma-informed care over the past few years. Can you talk a little bit about, that and how it's evolved maybe in your organization?
Mm-hmm. So we host the Mid-Michigan Trauma Collaborative within our agency, which is a network of nonprofits, state providers that get together from the Tri-County area to make sure that we are being mindful about trauma-informed care and responsiveness within our schools, within our, state agencies, foster care agencies, and health departments, and all of that. It's really important for us to educate and support, and so we all know how to talk and react and support kids and families. So Jay Munley is our coordinator. He's a master ACEs trainer, and he trains within child and family as well as in the greater community on several levels of trauma, being from the let's learn about what it is and the foundation, to how do we respond and react, to how do we care for ourselves, as in how do frontline workers protect themselves from secondary trauma. And then his next level is trauma-informed supervision. So that's the next piece he's launching within our agency in the community. And I've provided training on that as well. That's one of my areas that I like to work in. So yeah, so that's what we're doing. And Jay has also just been certified as a QPR trainer. So he will be doing the gatekeeper trainings. Yeah,
Great.
So and CMH also has amazing gatekeeper trainers as well, and they've been really helpful in the community for that too.
Okay. So I know we have taken advantage of Jay's training as part of our collaborative with Child and Family, and make sure that all of our college advisors in the high schools have gone through at least the initial training. And then last year, when all of the racial unrest evolved out of George Floyd's murder and the other incidences across the country, we decided to offer that same initial training for our board of directors. So one of the things that I want, I guess, our listeners to know is that, your organization can provide that kind of training. At least at the time, for us, it was free. I'm hoping that that's still free because it's grant funded program, that if you need that for your school staff, if you need that for your organizational staff, that's a resource that you can provide to that organization.
And Jay has been working with Lansing School District this year to support and train the staff, and as well as Waverly.
Great.
District.
So what are you doing specifically to support families whose children have had either suicide ideation or other types of mental health concerns?
So this year we saw the need to have a family and community coordinator for our agency. So this individual works in the community as well as within our organization to do just that, to support the families, get them connected to the care that they need, whether it's with us in our behavioral health clinic, whether it's with basic needs for food, clothing. The coordinator even helps clients getting them connected to resources for eviction prevention, MI bridges. So that's what the huge need. And I know Lansing School District has needed that as well. And we've been able to, bring in someone and help coordinate that for them.
So if other school districts need that level of support, is that care coordination available to them, or is that
yes.
Okay, is that something that you contract with then a school district to provide? Is that how that works?
This is something that if a school district needs, we connect them to the coordinator to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'm not sure a lot of people understand all the layers of resources that not only Child and Family brings to the community, but Child and Family leverages in the community. Yeah. So some of the things that you mentioned, might traditionally be available through, let's say, the Housing Resources Network in the community, or under United Way's 211 structure, or the food bank. But you're really trying to harness all of those resources on behalf of your clients that you work with directly or through the schools.
Yeah.
Great.
We're trying to eliminate those barriers for families. A lot of barriers that we see are transportation barriers. Sometimes it's just that navigation is overwhelming alone for them. They don't know where to begin. We do partner with other community agencies, such as Refugee Development Center, because some of the students, obviously, in our school system, their parents are migrants and refugees, and we need support around that. We may need a cultural broker. We may need a translator. We are not the experts in everything. So we want to partner with someone who is and just have a better, richer experience for that family and make sure that we're able to serve their needs.
Very good. So as we start to wrap up here, what should families be doing to support their students' mental health as we are beginning the slow and arduous process of rebuilding and re-engaging during COVID?
I think a big thing that we need to do as families, as parents, as any caretaker, is just to be mindful of the amount of time your child is spending online. What I'm also finding is we need to start going back and having those conversations about who are they talking to online. Being really aware of what they're doing. Oh, well, they're in their room they're in school. Are they in school? What's going on? Signs and symptoms of withdrawal, isolation, not very communicative. I think, what else can we do as caretakers and family members to engage our kids in activities that don't involve technology? Yeah.
Right. I mean, we as adults hopefully know that you need to periodically put the phone away, close the computer down, go take a walk. We've developed self-regulation habits, but we have to teach our students, our kids, how to do that as well.
Right.
Yeah. Good. One of the things, just to tell our viewers and listeners today, is that we have a partnership with Child and Family Charities. So through many of your residential programs, you actually are housing young people, whether they're homeless or in the juvenile system in some capacity. And through our Pathway to Potential partnership, our college and career coach is working with your students to help them do transition planning so that they are obviously, finishing up high school, getting that diploma, and then making the transitional steps to either college or into a career. So our college and career coach is working directly with your staff team to help support those young people in your housing facilities that you have throughout the community. So we want to let people know that they can access those resources for their young people if that's how they're connecting to Child and Family Charities.
Yeah.
So good. Rachel, I'll let you finish up here.
All right. So it seems like our time is running out, and I have one last question. We end every interview with CapCan Knows, where you would state your name and what you know. So I ask you, Andrea Calabrese, who are you and what do you know?
My name is Andrea Calabrese, and what I know is education in any form is great for our kids, whether it's college or vocational program. And I highly recommend getting connected to CapCan. They have amazing summer programs where you can experience different education opportunities. So that's what I know as an educator.
That is great. Well, that is all the time we have for today. And I want to thank Andrea Calabrese for coming on the podcast to chat with Michelle and I.
Thank you.
For more information on CapCan, please be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or visit our website at capcan.org. Thank you all for listening to us today, and we will see you again soon.